Well, they heard all that, so
No.
I'm holding you to it.
There's no proof.
Is that like the official like lines of your song? Is
Yes. Just beatboxing the whole time.
The whole time. Sweet. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Wind Down Your Weekend. I am Small Press Shan here at Bat City Comic Professionals once again with my co-host, Wednesday Phil. What up,
Hello,
Phil?
hello. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Not enjoying this cold weather at all.
You do know that next weekend is like way colder, right?
No, don't tell me that.
Yeah, it's like highs of
Wait,
40.
really?
Yeah, highs of like 40 starting on Thursday.
Are we gonna have another snowstorm? Do you think?
They say yes. They
Yeah.
And the internet says that they've already established that we will not be ready for it with our power grid.
Sweet.
So yay
Awesome.
for that exciting news. Yeah. That is super great. How has your week been? While I get this pulled up.
It's been pretty good. You know, it's a light week in comics, or at least I thought it was. I thought it was going to be a light week. But
it was.
It was in terms of the quantity, but
Yes.
the quality was there.
Yeah.
Which I was very surprised by.
There was a lot of books that, because I did the same thing. I looked at the stack, with books coming in late and everything. Like we got the stack on Friday, and I kind of put our stack aside from everything else and processed all the comics in the back room like really quickly, because they did come in like in midday. And so I was trying to get them into people's boxes and on the wall, and so I didn't even really like register what was in our stack. And I was like, I don't know all these titles. Some of them I've been waiting for, some of them like they're continuations, and some of these number ones I don't even remember why I ordered them, but I'm sure they're going to be good. And some of them I was like, I have been waiting for this team to make this book kind of thing. And then we touched base a little bit about it yesterday, and I was like, I haven't read anything yet, so I don't know if there's anything good or anything that's going to stand out. And then we both kind of had the same couple of realization points this week.
Yes,
so
there's some very high points this week for me.
Yeah, that is not spell time at all. Apparently, I tried to spell things while I wasn't looking, and it did not work out so well. But yeah, so there's going to be some good books. It is still, like you said, quantity-wise, it is a small week, so not as much, honestly, as especially in the last couple of weeks since we've been like slamming through a lot of books at a time. We'll see what happens with that. I didn't even bring our prize, so I'm gonna wing that later on. Apparently I was just completely distracted.
You can have this bottle.
That will be empty.
Wine bottle, yeah.
You guys can sign it.
Oh my god, please don't ask us to sign your wine bottle.
No.
But we are, speaking of that, since we're winding down our weekend, we are drinking Spellbound, which is a Petite Syrah. Phil picked this out with no idea what a Petite Syrah is.
Nope.
No idea. What do you think? You just took a drink.
It's delicious. It's not as intense as the last ones.
No, and that's usually the case, I feel like, with wines like these, and they're kind of more of like these like blends. Is it... Matt, you have a really good way of describing Petite Syrahs way better than me. How would you describe it if you, like, what is it? No, you're usually really good at describing what the wine styles are, and now you're shaking your head.
Syrah is usually a little bit more desserty.
Thank you. See, that's...
Okay.
And Spellbound is... You picked it because it had the name Spellbound and it sounded cool.
Super sweet.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know you're into witchcraft.
And so you thought this would be good.
Yeah, a themed bottle of wine.
Yeah, and we've had this, Matt and I have had this before, but not in a really long time, like not since. We've kind of like figured out like which wines are like the ones we lean towards, so it's kind of fun to go back to
Since
it.
we switched this look.
Yeah, or since we've been in here and you've been on the show. I mean, obviously, because you haven't had it. But I love that it's, again, I talk about how I always love the writing on the back of the wine bottles, and this one is so overdone. It's like over the top. It's hilarious. It's like everyone knows the warm sun nurtures plants, bringing grapevines to full maturity. But it's the moon, ruler of the tides, whose gravitational force helps pull water up from the soil during the cool nights, that has influenced farmers since ancient times. Our food-friendly wines are true to their roots, expressing ripe right varietal character and spellbounding flavors. It's very, like...
I'm sold. That was poetry.
Way over, like, the top, poetic kind of writing for a wine that comes in a screw top cap.
Yes. That's also another thing that I'm going to start focusing on when I buy wines, is if I have to twist it off or if I actually have to deal with the cork, because I don't want to do the cork.
I like these for the live stream simply because then I don't have to worry about if we, like, put it behind something or on the floor. Like,
that's fair.
The twist tops are great for that because and then you don't have to try to, like, re-uncork it or anything. It's, like, closed and sealed while we're doing this. So, anyway, Spellbound. If you're drinking something while you watch along, whether it's just water or coffee or... you've got a wine or an alcoholic beverage of your choice, let us know. Since we're winding down your weekend, we want to know what you're drinking.
Yes. Hopefully it's also Spellbound, because this stuff's actually really delicious.
See, and that's why I was like, oh, we were choosing between the two wines that Phil brought, and I was like, I can choose the one that I know Matt and I will really love, or I can choose one that Phil will actually like this time. So I'm glad I chose.
We could have done both.
There's still time. Cool. Well, let's jump into some hot new titles and see what we got going on. I'm gonna start with Woven Heart, which is only a hot new title if you're me. This is issue 10 of Woven Heart, which is from Mad Cave, which we don't see too many books coming out from, but Mad Cave is doing this really cool title, Woven Heart, which is kind of a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen-esque type book, because we do see a lot of characters from, like, history and literature mixed together. Like, we've got Nikola Tesla, we've got Elizabeth Bathory, we've got, and then you've got, like, Van Helsing, and you've got Dorian Gray, and in this particular issue, we also add Joan of Arc to the mix, which I'm really curious to see where that goes, because it is all about, like, a secret society that kind of keeps, you know, disturbances out of the time, like, continuum from happening, and they go through different points in time and they kind of battle all of this, like, you know, demonic forces and things like that. And in the original volume of Woven Heart, we saw their organization get attacked, and then when we came back from, like, trying to fix that, we ended up in a world where it's backwards, and the people who were the bad guys are now the good guys, and the good guys were the bad guys, but it's still the same organization. So we've got a really cool, like, kind of reboot of what we saw in the original run of Woven Heart, and yet we're still kind of in this same mission all at the same time with this one. And I just love that Elizabeth Bathory is one of our main characters. Historically speaking, she was allegedly responsible for the death and possible blood drinking of hundreds of young people in her town, but there has never, like, they never have been able to find any proof of that. But she is also considered to be one of the inspirations for Dracula, which we're seeing a lot of come into play in this story, especially going against in opposition with, like, Van Helsing, who is in the story as well, who we know has, you know, fantastically speaking, has always been a vampire Dracula, like, opposition.
I do enjoy the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen kind of vibe here. Is there a trade for Volume 1?
There is, and we actually have it in stock, so I have it to show off later on.
Oh, perfect.
And it is issues 1 through 7, and then this volume picked up with 8, which we have. We have 8, 9, and 10 in stock, so you could do the whole thing. And I read all of Volume 1 while riding my bike one time.
Oh.
Like, I was like, I have to read this, because Mad Cave was doing a competition to be the person who would write this volume, and I was like, oh man, I can write a book about Elizabeth Bathory, and then I never entered the competition, which is on me, but I did read all of Volume 1 in, like, one sitting, and I kept getting more and more excited as, like, different things would happen. Like, I'm like, oh, that's so-and-so from history, or that's so-and-so from literature, so I got, like, super into it. And was like, I don't know how this entire title swept by me the first round of it coming out, but I'm glad I found it. Even if I'm not writing it, I'm really glad that I found this series.
So let me ask you this. Now that you have started to read this volume, do you feel like you could have done better? Do you feel like this is a solid Volume 2?
This is a solid volume 2. I think that they did a good job of going, like, completely on par with, like, where it was going and, like, elevating it up to the story and, like, building more into the world. I would have definitely gone in, like, I would have been like, okay, here's a wrap-up of volume 1 really quickly and then gone in my own direction, which is totally not what they would have wanted. And so I'm glad to see this because I definitely want to see how this plays out, and I need to see this story, like, keep going. So they're doing a really good job of drawing you back in and making you care about the characters and also raising the stakes, like, every issue. And, again, bringing in Joan of Arc, I'm like, yes, this is how you get me every time.
Yeah, and I'll be curious to see if maybe they bring in more characters and try and, you know, draw this out into a long ongoing, because I could see that happening with a book like that.
Yeah, you could run this for a long time and it would be good. Alright, so next up we've got Ms. Marvel Beyond the Limits number 2. Very excited to have a Ms. Marvel title back on the shelves, and of course we know Disney is doing that to get you pumped for the fact that there is a Ms. Marvel show coming, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, and of course we also know that we're going to see her in the Marvels. So we're getting a lot of Kamala Khan coming to the, like, MCU, and so I'm glad that that's going to mean we're getting a lot more Kamala Khan coming back into comics, because it's been a minute. You know, she had her series, and then she finally got, like, a moniker, and then we went into the Champions thing, and then now all of those are kind of done, and it's like, okay, well, what's Kamala up to? And she's up to one of those classic, I might have opened a portal to another dimension and screwed up all of my timeline capers right now. And in issue 1, she's staying with her cousin in Chicago, and she goes to see her cousin who's working on an experiment, and somebody is attacking her cousin at the moment, and so she swoops in as Ms. Marvel and tries to stop them, and in the process of trying to put everything back while her cousin is passed out, she sees what the other Kamalas in other dimensions would have been like, and finds herself, when she goes home, suddenly living in a Bollywood movie in issue 2. And she's very confused as to how she got here, and there is somebody else who is posing as her in the city and is doing crime. But looks exactly like her, and they're like, is this another clone situation? Like, what's going on, Ms. Marvel? And she's like, I don't know. But I'm just glad that it's not all in a Bollywood movie all the time.
I love the art in this book. It looks fantastic. Ms. Marvel is a character that I've only seen mostly in, like, animated stuff. I haven't read her comics yet, but I like the concept of the character. I like her power set too.
Yeah.
And I've heard nothing but great things about the series prior to this, but I may actually... Is this a good jumping on point?
This is a really good jumping on point, because you do get that little paragraph that's like, oh, this is who Ms. Marvel is. And because she's looking, even when she does, like, her dimensional look in the other things, she kind of goes through and describes, like, what the difference between her is versus all of these other Kamalas. Mm-hmm. So you get a little recap of what her powers are and what she's done and things like that throughout. And then they're good at editor notes, and there's not really a lot of, like, you'll not know what happened if you didn't read this. Mm-hmm. So really, really good. One of the things that I think Marvel does really well with their younger characters is they know that a lot of people jumping in are jumping in for sure for the first time, because they are gearing them towards younger readers to start, like, as a starting point, and so they are really good at kind of, like, breaking it back down to the beginning, more so than they do with a lot of the older characters who they're like, you're on it, you've been on it, you're gonna just figure it out. Like, they know, like, hey, this might be your first comic ever, so we're gonna make it easy to digest and jump into.
That's good. Yeah, I definitely, just looking at these pages, this looks really good. Also, the Bollywood stuff.
It's fantastic.
I'm definitely on board for that.
Yes. Up next, Matt, Close Your Eyes, is Maniac of New York. The Bronx is Burning, issue 2.
What?
I know. I didn't give him his, like, we didn't get it until Friday, so I didn't give him his, like, warning. Usually I'm like, you have this many days until the live stream. Well, it's here. And this is, we talk about it all the time, Maniac of New York is kind of what if Jason had actually taken Manhattan, and now he's taken Manhattan and he's moved on to the Bronx, and he is destroying a school right now. And what I love about this issue and the issue before is the principal is one of those, like, I have to follow the protocols. I have to follow the protocols kind of people. So he's like, I can't do anything about the killer, like the slasher, you know, being here, except for call the hotline that we're supposed to call. And so he's in this issue on the phone the whole time, like calling and leaving messages. And he's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, the killer's in my school. And then he like calls back immediately and is like, can I get someone to answer me? Like, I need a phone call, like, back. Like, what am I supposed to do about the fact that there's like a rampaging like psychopath in my school? And he just like keeps going, and it kind of just shows like that, you know, we kind of leave teachers like to figure stuff out on their own, and it's like, well, you can only do things this way, like, and it's kind of just like an ultra like crazy version of that. But we have the incredible Andrea Muti art once
Always.
again. That's just an absolute perfect art style for a book like this, because the blood splatters just fall beautifully on the page, and the characters like are highlighted so well in it. And we saw in volume 1 the, you know, the girl who was at the summer camp with, you know, when the slasher, when Friday the 13th happened.
Yes.
And she is now like the city's expert on this, and she's supposed to be stopping this whole thing. And after volume 1, when everything went wrong because of the mayor being a complete jerk and very Jaws-esque, like, well, you know, we're not gonna stop the launch of our new train just because of a little murder, she ends up taking the fall, and now she's like the hated, like, most hated person in the city, but she's still determined to stop him. And so she is out here with her police officer partner, and they are the only ones honestly doing anything to try to get it to actually stop.
It's definitely one of those books where I was like, oh, I'll just read this for the art, and the story's actually been
Really
pretty
good.
solid.
Mm-hmm.
Both in the previous series and this one. Also, that cover is just super cool.
It's super cool.
Like, you can't go wrong with that. Just pick it up just for the art alone.
Yeah, and we do have trades of Volume 1. If you're like, but I didn't read Volume 1, and I'm one of those people who I have to read Volume 1 before I jump into Volume 2, we've got trades of Volume 1, and then you can jump right into Volume 2 and be ready to go without a delay. Issue 2 of King of Spies from Mark Millar and Matteo Scalera and Image Comics is out.
Yes.
If you're a fan of any of Mark's works, this is just another one of those classic Mark Millar like stories. We've got Kingsman style spy works going on here. I believe it is actually supposed to be in the universe of the Kingsman.
It is.
And old spy, not ready to retire, but gets sick. They kind of force him out, whether he wants to be forced out or not. And he's like, well, they don't want me. I'm dying. You know what? I'm just going to take out all the people who I know are the bad people, because I know everything about everybody from being a member of the spy agency for so long that, you know, they all deserve to die. And I'm just going to take them all out on my own.
It's kind of like the John Wick concept, where it's like, it's the one guy you don't want coming after you.
Yeah.
And
you let him go.
Yes. And you've given him every opportunity to now turn the tables, and he's going to. And I think that's why I'm in for this book. I do like the Kingsman universe. The early run of that was really good. I think it's actually called Secret Service, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I'm also just a big fan of the old guy, badass.
Yeah.
You know, who's like, oh, I've seen and done it all. And there's a reason why everyone cowers when they hear my name. And I think it's gonna be great. I'm hoping it's only gonna be a miniseries.
I feel like Mark has been trading in the miniseries for a while, so it's not surprising if it would be. And I think it doesn't really need to be more than that. I think he just needs to take everybody out and move on. And I love this issue, and I know you didn't get to read it, so I'm trying not to spoil. I love a lot of the things that happen in this issue that are still, just like everything else in a lot of these spy books, they are the tropes.
Yeah.
And they're tropes for a reason. Like, they do them because they work. And we see the classic, like, oh, who are we going to call in to stop this guy? And you could probably guess who they call in to stop him. kind of thing, just from the way these situations usually work out. But it's still one of those, like, oh man, this is gonna get good. And as like for me, being a fan of the Deathstroke like family saga,
Yes.
like the Slade family saga, like this whole series is just like, if we took out all of the super powered element of the DC universe and we just made Slade like a normal assassin, and all of his like connections and all of those capacities, like what would happen if Slade was just like, I've got nothing left to give and I'm gonna die and I'm gonna take you all down with me. Kind of feels a little bit like that. So
Yes. Yeah.
if you're a Big Two fan and you're like, what indie book do I need? This is the one. If you're like, I really like Deathstroke and I want to see him murder some people.
What's it called again?
King of Spies.
And it makes sense because I love Deathstroke. He's probably one of my all-time favorite DC characters. So it makes even more sense when I'm sitting here being like, you know what? I definitely now need to read this. I'm going to put it at the top of the pile next time.
Yes, for sure. Another one I know you didn't read because you haven't read issue 1.
I don't remember.
I don't think you did. I think it was the session that the live stream that Matt did with me, and so I don't think you got to do this. But this is also Mad Cave, and this is the last session, and it is all about a group of kids who, when they were in high school, they started a D&D campaign. They were all stuck in the same like after school thing, and the person never came that was supposed to run the organization. So they just were like, hey, have you played this D&D like game before? And they started their campaign, and then they all went off to college, and now they've all like are about to go off even further away from each other because they're all at separate universities for the most part, and now they're all about to start their careers, and they're still playing the same campaign whenever they can get together because they never got to finish it because they went off to college. And so they've come together to finally finish the last of their campaign, and one of their dungeon master has a live-in girlfriend, and he's like, I'm gonna get married to this person, probably it's like my person, and so let's just let her be in the team, like she can join the campaign. And they're like, but the campaign's almost over, we've been playing for like 8 years. And he's like, yeah, but it's fine. And they're like, okay, well, what's her experience? And he's like, oh, she's never played at all, she has no idea how it works. And
I do remember this book.
So you've got
the first issue.
all the friends like super kind of annoyed at like having her come in, but I love it because they do it in like, you see them in real life, but then their characters are also sitting around complaining about it because you see everything that happens with their characters like as if it's another story. So you almost get like a Rat Queens and a regular story like pushed together kind of situation. But in this issue, the one friend is really, really adamant that they need to get rid of her because she's just a mess. And so it shows her talking to them both in in their fictional character form and in real life about how they just really need to move on from this person and just need to like step up and say something. And so it's honestly, it's just a really cute book. Like, it's just some friends, you know, trying to figure out life while also trying to not die in a game. And so it's a lot of fun. If you're a fan of D&D, you're going to love this book.
Yeah, and I think I've always thought this was such a great idea. I mean, you can pump out as many Dungeons and Dragons based comic books and it'll work.
Yeah.
Because like this one, you can, you know, have the real world characters and show also what's going on in the quest. So I think it's perfect. Yeah, I do remember reading this, but I wasn't 100% sure, but now that you mentioned the switching back and forth, I do enjoy that concept.
Good. I'm glad that you didn't. Now you have to read that.
Yeah.
You have to keep going. Phenom X is back with issue 3, I believe, is what we're on.
Issue 3.
Yeah. This particular cover is the contest winner. John Leguizamo hosted a really quick contest to find an artist to draw the variant cover for this, like an unpublished artist. On the internet, and this is actually the person that won their cover, and so it's just pretty cool. But this is written by John Leguizamo for Image Comics, and it is basically a lot like those other celebrity done comics where it's basically just John Leguizamo like as a character, as a superhero.
Yes.
And basically this guy has, you know, he's kind of a dead shot, like in Suicide Squad, where he got in trouble for like gang violence, drugs, things like that, and has been in prison all this time. And an Amanda Waller style leader comes to him and is like, hey, you're in this program now. They pump him full of a bunch of stuff, and now he's got superpowers and he's out in the world trying to do their bidding, but they send him back to his very own neighborhood. And so in this issue, we see him finally trying to say, like, hey, I don't care about your mission if these people from my community are in trouble, and I'm going to help them. And, like, stops long enough to, like, actually think about wanting to make the right choice. And much like Deadshot, he does have, like, a kid, so he's like, I want to be a hero for my kid. But we do find out in, I believe it was issue 2, that his brother has been connected to all of this, and he's believed his brother was gone all this time, and he's found out now that his brother is very much like engrossed into all of the details of this whole organization and the crime that they are trying to stop all at the same time.
Yeah, this was one that I was surprised with how good the story was, because I remember reading that first issue and I was like, it's so hard to read this book and not just think of John Leguizamo, which I mean is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But like I can just hear his voice, and it kind of took me out of the story. But that second issue, it opened up this world a bit, and I mean it's great. I feel like this was a movie that they pitched in the '90s, where they were like, hey, let's kind of go off the Spawn thing and maybe give you your own character, and maybe it never happened, or maybe this was an idea he had back in the day. But it's actually been surprisingly good.
It's funny that you said that, because I've actually was talking about this book with one of our subscribers for it this week, and we were saying that it very much feels like 90s image, but they didn't have a lot of diversity in comics in the 90s, especially featuring Latinx characters, and so this was like John Leguizamo like, hey, let's go back and like put a Latinx character in that 90s style, because I love, like, you know, he loved 90s comics. He was a big part of that wave because of Spawn. And, you know, when people talk about Spawn still, they actually come in and they talk about John Leguizamo, like, and his role in that more than I hear anything about actually Spawn half the time. And so he's
the best part of the movie.
And so it's like he was like, hey, let's use that. Let's go back and let's put that 90s comic power back in control, but like let's do it with some Latinx community involved in it, because we were left out the first time. And it feels like that's what he said. It feels like, honestly, she's like, either he pitched it in the 90s or he was like, hey, you know what? We never got our shot. I want to do the comics I loved, but I want to give voice to, like, myself and people like me. And it feels like that's what he's going for, and it definitely translates very well on the page to that. So if you're a fan of 90s comics, like, and with, like you said, like, more open stories, I think you'll enjoy this story a lot. Because it does have that 90s style action.
And you get dialogue that sounds just like how John Leguizamo talks. So it's this wonderful.
Is issue 3, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad they're doing that again. I think it's cool, and I kind of hope that they do more of this. Hey, let's put celebrities on books. You know, they have great story ideas. They have to, being around the industry for so long.
Well, yes and no. And that's where I always get nervous, because in the novel industry, when celebrities write novels, that's not the case necessarily. And
True.
So that's why I'm like, well, it's not like a blanketed statement that celebrities have great ideas, but the celebrities we've seen writing comics in 2021 have been great. And I think as long as they come out with these great concepts and they're willing to put that, like, work into them and develop them just like any other creative person, then I don't see why they should be excluded from the conversation.
Right.
But, like, don't just give them a comic because they have a name and then not put the effort into telling a good story.
Right.
Because you see that a lot in novels. And, you know, let's like, continue to do the work to, like, make comics good no matter who you are.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
Hawkeye, speaking of issue 3s, Hawkeye, I know you all know that Hawkeye's great. You don't really need me to tell you that. But a hot new title, I feel like a lot of people have been like, oh, there's a Hawkeye title? What? Is it like the show? Is it like the old stuff? Is it, you know, where does it fall in the Hawkeye world? I mean, it's perfectly Kate Bishop.
Yes.
Honestly, truthfully.
Yeah, I mean, she's a character that she's a more recent character. I mean, if you liked the Fraction run, if you liked the TV show, I mean, she's just a great character anyway. I love Kate Bishop. Like, there was a moment when I was reading that Fraction run, and I was like, you know what? If they got rid of Clint forever, I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly okay with this change of character, because she's so lovable.
She absolutely is, and I'm not a fan of MCU Clint Barton, as most of you have heard. So I'm definitely okay with the idea of just having Kate Bishop. But she's absolutely great in this story. She, much like a lot of the other young Avengers, who are currently the West Coast Avengers, is working her way back to New York. America's already there, and Cass is already there, and so she's working her way towards New York, and she stops off to help her sister with a mission at a resort. And things just keep getting worse. As per usual, Kate.
Yes, it's just a snowball effect every time. But she finds her way out of it. She always does, somehow. And, yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong. The art looks great in this book. It's very, very much in that Kate Bishop style. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, if you're not reading it yet, this was just your reminder to pick it up, because it has been fantastic and will continue. And it's probably just a mini working its way towards, I imagine, with America being a mini and this coming up, we're going to see probably a lot of those younger Avenger girls back in New York in a book together probably soon, if I had to guess. There's got to be a reason they're bringing them all together there. Yes. I do love that there's constantly text messages from America that's like, are you texting me to tell me that I was right yet? That you need help? Or are you just texting me? Lunar Room, issue 2 from Vault. All right.
Yes.
Go for it.
So this book is all about magic. And they remind you through most of this book that it's about magic. I'm going to say magic a lot in this section just because they do it and they really drive it into your mind. This is Lunar Room number 2 from Vault Comics. It is about a mage who decides to team up with a werewolf to go on an adventure. And the great thing about this issue is they give you that moment where someone sits down and kind of lays the adventure out. Like, hey, this is what we're going after. Here's the history. Now, are you on board? And this is actually one of those moments, because after issue 1...
I had no idea what this book was about.
Yeah, because there was wrestling and werewolves and...
I really thought it was going to be a werewolf wrestling book, and I was kind of disappointed that it wasn't.
Yeah, and it's not that at all. It's actually the complete opposite. But it's basically a team up to go find an artifact that has lots and lots of power. They got to get to a certain place at a certain time when the planets align or something like that.
Yeah.
All the things that you would want in that kind of like Indiana Jones style adventure, but it has magic in it.
And an ex-werewolf. She no longer has the power to transform into a werewolf, and she's super pissed about it. She's one of those people who's like, I'm mad that they figured out how to make me not a werewolf, and I want my power back. And the mage is telling her that he allegedly can get it back for her.
Yes.
But we also have noticed very quickly in the first 2 issues that he has no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah, but he's also going after, like, an extremely powerful item, which could make him potentially, like, ruler of everything.
Of everything. But he also, once again, has no idea what he's talking about. So this could be a very dangerous combination.
Yes.
And I love her narration.
Yes.
Because she is, like, your surly, like, detective kind of voice. But without being a surly detective. And so she's just like, oh, well, being a werewolf, like, you have a heightened sense of smell, and it's really good for smelling through bullshit.
Yeah.
And even before I was a werewolf, I was really good at detecting when people were full of crap. And this guy brings me all of that. And yet, at the same time, I can't help but trust him because I really want to figure out if he's telling the truth or not. And we've got another group of some kind of supernatural enemies of hers who are following after her, who may also be an ex-girlfriend
yes.
that we saw after issue 1. So there's a lot of convoluted craziness that's going on in this. But
yeah, it's because there's also another kind of side story running along, or I can't tell if it's a side story, but it's like vampire mafia type stuff involved, which is great. I actually really like it. Some of the like splash pages and stuff on here involving the vampire stuff is pretty cool. It just seems like they're throwing a bunch of ideas at you all at once and hoping that something hooks on, and then eventually they'll maybe work through
where it needs to go.
Yeah. But I gotta say, after that first issue, I was kind of like, man, I don't think so. I may stop. This one, I'm definitely a little bit more on board, and since it is a vault title, it's kind of like, I feel like I just kind of have to blindly trust that in the next few issues this will work itself out, and then one of us will have a t-shirt of it.
Right, and it's so true, and Adrian Mossel as an editor is a great editor, and so I know that if Adrian at Vault is like, hey, let's put this title on our line, as an editor, like he's not gonna steer me wrong, so I know it's going somewhere, and I'm curious to see if issue 3 further connects some of these dots. This book, Lunar Room, is also doing something that we see in What's the Furthest Place from Here, which we're also going to talk about today. And I mean, honestly, we can talk about it right now.
You're live from our iPad, not an iPod. wrong product. Because all of our stuff is broken, apparently, right now. So we had all of the technical difficulties that you could imagine at one time. So we are back now, and we are going to jump back to talking about What's the Furthest Place from Here by Matthew Rosenberg and Tyler Boss, which is one of our favorite books. We are on issue 3, and this is the story of it's very much like The Warriors. We've got a bunch of kids living in the apocalypse, and if you're an adult, you are, like, when you turn 18, you're, like, let loose into the wild, and adults can't exist, which is really important for this particular issue, because we run into people we believe are the elders, possibly, in issue 3. But our main group, our family, are the record store kids, and they are looking for one of their family members who has gone missing, and they come across this other family's home, and the fact that they don't know what VHS tapes was one of the big things for me. Like, this whole issue revolves around them not being able to figure out what a VHS tape is, and whether it's, like, currently screening, or in the past, or in the future.
Which I do like, because it does just kind of give you a little bit more about how this world is, and what kind of characters we're experiencing in terms of, like, their knowledge of, you know, the past and stuff. Like, the way he talks about TVs, it's like, he was like, I don't know what this is at all.
Yeah, they're like, are these screens into, like, another room? Is this the future? And they, like, cannot grasp it. I also, we were talking about this earlier, I love that the Tyler Boss way of telling a story is kind of just going on a car ride. And it's like when your friend's like, hey, let's go for a drive. And you just get in the car, and the whole time you're talking about whatever nonsense comes to your mind. And you just keep talking about it, and it takes you down all these different paths, and you just keep driving. And you're not going anywhere, necessarily.
Right.
And you might end up at Taco Bell, and it might be the greatest, like, Taco Bell trip that you ever took in your life. But, like, it was never about that. Like, you don't even remember later on, like, where you got to. You just remember driving around and all the things you talked about. And I feel like that's a big part of Tyler Boss's storytelling. And when him and Matthew Rosenberg come together, it's kind of just a beautiful example of how that works. Because they've got a plan, but you're kind of just in the car with them, trying to see where it goes.
I don't want to give anything else away, because I feel like
it's a big turning point issue.
Yeah, it's definitely a turning point issue, and the towards the end, it really kind of shit hits the fan, and it's opening up the world a little bit more, which I'm excited for, because I'm kind of not 100% certain where exactly we're gonna go with this book altogether. So
yeah. Watching this, sorry, I have the live up on my phone,
gosh.
and watching it, I feel like I'm watching an episode of, like, The Office, like, with the difference between this and our normal way of what it looks like, so it's
the
totally...
first time he started moving that towards me, I was like, I can't do this. This is...
Oh, it's great. Keeping it going, because I don't know how long we have,
The Batgirls issue 2. This is Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad, some of our Austin comic family, working with Jorge Corona on art, who we are huge fans of. Jorge Corona as an artist of Middle West and the Me You Loved in the Dark. Like, he's just a great artist. And now we're seeing that on a Batgirls team, which features all of them, Babs, Steph, and Cass, all working together.
And it's kind of that, like, fun sitcom vibe that you get with this book. We get the Saints, who are part of Magistrate. I think this all comes out of a lot of the Future State stuff, if I remember. But there's some new characters they introduce here. And do you know how would you pronounce that?
I don't know if it's supposed to be a sassy.
A sissy?
It's definitely not a sissy. I think it's supposed to be a sassy, like assassin or a saucy. But we don't know what the person looks like, so I don't know if it's like a cultural name or if it's supposed to be like assassin or what. But I was definitely like, I'm not sure how we say this name, but they're definitely not somebody I'm gonna mess with and get it wrong. So.
My only gripe with this whole issue was I got stuck on that name for a while, and every few times I said it, I was like, how do you pronounce this? I do feel like the other thing with this book is that they're throwing a lot of villains at you.
And I don't know where we're going with any of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned that it's a lot all at once. But again, I don't really think you're here for the villains as much as you are for
Steph Brown.
Yes. Well, really all three of them and the dynamic that you're going to get. And it's all about the relationship because, like, one of the things that stood out to me in this issue, there was a moment where she was on the phone with, like, Dick Grayson. There was kind of that moment where, you know, she's like, yeah, no, I'm getting it under control. I know that's a lot. And it's those kind of, like, small moments where I'm like, okay, I'm reading this. And because I want to see Steph and Cass just go out and kick ass in this city.
And it is a more emotional, like, humanly driven emotional story. We don't get to see, you know, Babs have her moments where she's like, I don't actually know what I'm doing. Yeah. And she's trying to be tough for Steph and Cass, but you do get that phone call with Dick where she's like, I don't know. I just don't want anything to happen to these girls because they're young and they're trying and I feel responsible for them. And I don't know that I'm the best person to be that responsible, but here I am. And also you get that moment where Babs actually says, my back hurts.
Yeah.
And she's like, I just need a minute.
Yeah, it's just one of those days.
And I thought that was something we don't talk about a lot. We don't talk about Barbara Gordon's injury as much anymore. Like, oh, they kind of healed her and then they never really talked about it. And it's nice to see this moment where she's like, I am just kind of human and I need a moment. And it's nice to be reminded of that.
Yeah, and then they do have a nice moment towards the end here where they pierce Cass's ears.
Yeah.
Which it's just like, oh my god, this is wonderful. Like, if this was something that they wanted to turn into like an HBO Max, like CW style show, it would be really great. Because obviously with, like, the production value that they have with Titans, like, I think you could really do some wonderful things with these characters.
I want it to be CW because I want it to be that cute. And I don't want them to try to, like, up the ages and make them aggressive. Like, I actually want it to stay That's adorable. Fair. Like, we're just three girls living in a house, like, dealing with some stuff. Like, yeah, we're fighting bad guys, but at the same time, we're sitting there having a conversation about the fact that we're all Batgirl. We don't know how to talk to each other on a communication device. Like, I want to keep the fun and not go too serious. So, like, a CW show would be really great. Even an animated show in the DC Superhero Girl style, but with just these three, which, of course, means that Oracle would be Tara Strong, because she currently does Babs' voice on DC Superhero Girls. Like, I'm okay with that. Like,
oh, definitely.
I mean, you could just have Tara Strong play all of them, and I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I think this is a fun one, and I like that they're doing, like, Batgirls and Robins.
Yeah.
You know, they're doing all these different ones, so...
And Steph Brown's just in all of them.
And I'm perfectly okay with that.
Me too. 4 from Red 5. We just talked about the Verge issue 3 last week. Red 5's been kind of like... They took their delay and then they kind of just were like, okay, well, all the books got printed now. They're all here. Let's just put them all out kind of situation. This is the story of...
Oh, we did just...
This is a Verge has happened, like, that's caused all of different points of time to all converge in the middle of New York City. and we have Vikings in one borough, and the like ancient Chinese dynasties in one borough, and just different cultures throughout. And we have a girl who works as a detective, but as this detective, we find out that she has a past that's connected to one of the different like past that's like heritages that's in one of the boroughs. And in this issue we see it all come to fruition. And honestly, Red 5, this better not be the end. It kind of is like, oh, like very open ending, like, well, we can, whatever comes next, we can take it. But I'm like, I want to see what comes next. Like,
Right.
This is, I know you're in your early days, and so you're doing the like small mini series, but I'm gonna need a volume 2 immediately of this book because I need more of this story.
But if they don't, does it wrap up well to where, like, if this was it, you'd be okay?
Tradition, like in that modern sense of like, oh, okay, well, we stopped them in this moment, and what you can interpret where it goes, but not at the same time, because like we just started a war essentially, and then it's like, oh, well, wherever this war goes, like I'm ready to stop it, and I'm like, the hell you are! I need to see you stop it. I don't want to hear you tell me that you could stop it. I want to see you stop it. So no, I need a volume 2. Red 5, I'm buying it, I'm reading it, I'm telling everybody else to read it. I need you to tell everybody else to read it by making some more, because it's really good. Read The Verge from Red 5, and tag them on Twitter and Instagram and all the other places you can find Red 5 that you need a volume 2 of The Verge. If you're watching right now, literally like go to Twitter and find Red 5's Twitter and tell them we want a volume 2 of The Verge, because I do. AWA Upshot, back with issue 3 of Knighted. This is a mixture of Batman and the Santa Claus, starring Tim Allen. That is the best way that I can describe that. This is a world where a Batman-style superhero was killed, and the guy who saw him die puts on the suit and has now taken over as the Batman-style hero. And I know you love your lovable losers, and this is definitely one of those characters, for sure.
Yeah, this was one that, again, because I'm so, with the art style of AWA, I've always been very timid to go out there and pick up an AWA book. But this may be one that I read, because you keep selling it with the pitch of the Santa Claus. I mean, it's such a great concept for a superhero. I mean, it's kind of like Green Lantern, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, where it kind of passes on to the next person. Except this guy is literally, like, his own fiance. Like, he proposes, and she's like, ooh, see, I'm not gonna say yes, because I don't think that you're good enough. Like, I'm happy to date you, but I don't think you're good enough to marry. And, like, that's where he's at the time that he sees this, like, Batman-style character. And the Batman-style character is he's a complete douche. He's a 100%, like, terrible person. But nobody knows that, because they all think he's this great superhero. Mm-hmm. And so he's starting to get this inside scoop of him as he's working with the, like, Lucius Fox. But this guy he's like the data entry person of the police, and he's just the guy that everybody talks down to and trashes on, and now he's a superhero. And he's doing it all for the best reason on the inside, and I don't want to spoil that because it's part of the, like, heart of the story. So, check out Knighted from AWA Upshot, because if you're a Batman fan, if you're into, like, those, like, reluctant heroes, this is definitely a good one for you.
We've had a few of those books lately that kind of seem like they're hitting. What's the other one? The Crimson. There's another one that I really, really like.
My Bad.
No. Yes.
Yes.
We'll talk about My Bad in a second. But there was another one. It's a little bit more of a serious one. I'll think about it.
I know, and Cloaked kind of does that, which is from Red 5.
I think that was.
Yeah.
I think it's
That's
Cloaked.
Cloaked from Red 5, which is another good one. We definitely are seeing a lot. It's like DC's made so many Batman titles that everybody else is like, us too! Yeah. We've all got one.
Maybe it's all the people who realize that they may never get the chance to actually write Batman. So, like, I'm just going to do my Batman story now.
Yeah.
Just in case I'm not able to later.
Just in case I'm not going to be able to do it. Tom said he's 4 glasses into his bottle of wine and is happy to be wine downing this weekend with us.
What's he drinking?
What are you drinking, Tom? What kind of... you said bottle. You didn't say wine, but what are you drinking? Do you want to know? We're drinking Spellbound. If you didn't catch the first video, We are drinking Spellbound tonight, which is a Petite Syrah that Phil picked out, which is more of like the dessert wine style. It's a little bit sweeter. Not as sweet as a full dessert wine, but
It's
much
delicious.
sweeter than our usual.
I'm a fan.
Usual ones. Jumping back into comics for hot new titles, we've got Hotel. This is volume 2 from AWA Upshot. Honestly, if you are a fan of Ice Cream Man, just grab Hotel. We do have, I believe, volume 1 in trade. But volume 2 is actually starting, much like volume 2 of Ice Cream Man, we're actually starting to see the kind of host of the story giving us a little bit of that information. We're seeing the guy who runs the hotel kind of narrate a little bit in this volume and give us what is actually going down in this hotel and why are things weird, but it's done on like the outskirts of the actual like anthology story. So in this particular one, we see a girl who was supposed to be joining a gang, and her one job was that she needed to kill, like her last initiation rite was she needed to shoot someone, and she chooses not to. She goes on the run, ends up at the hotel, and as we know, you can check in anytime you like, but you can never leave at this hotel. And we see across from issue 1 of volume 2 in this one already, which is one of the things I love, is that Hotel's really good at making the characters overlap, and seeing those pieces of the different pieces of the anthology story show really well. I know, like with Ice Cream Man, a lot of times people will miss that characters from the other stories are in the background. These, you like directly interact with somebody from another story every time. So.
Yeah, I remember this being kind of the first AWA book that kind of put them on everyone's radar, because this was big on Instagram for a bit, where everyone was like, hey, reading. And I saw this on a lot of, this was on my timeline a good bit for like a few weeks. So I'm glad that they're going to keep going with it, and, you know, like Ice Cream Man, and we can
do it forever.
You can do it forever.
Yeah. And lastly, hot new titles this week. We've got Ahoy Comics with issue 3 of My Bad from the great and powerful Mark Russell.
Yes.
I almost feel bad saying that because we all know the Wizard of Oz didn't actually have any power, and Mark Russell has all of it. But this is... we've got a couple of stories every month when My Bad comes out in it, but it is mostly, the main story is about the Chandelier, who is yet another one of those Batman-style characters, who's the billionaire who becomes a superhero, but he's not good at it, and this entire issue is he's mad that he doesn't have as many followers on social media as his Superman counterpart.
Yes.
And
who's kind of like the Flash.
Yeah.
The Speed character, very much a DC heavy in these stories with these characters. Because, Chandelier is very much like 60s Adam West Batman, but very absurd. Like, absurd to a level that you really wouldn't expect. Like, I love that he makes his butler sleep in a drawer. Like, he doesn't even have a bed. He just makes him sleep in a drawer, and it's kind of rude to him. Very much.
Oh, he's very rude to him.
Yeah, kind of like how Archer was with, I forget his butler's name in the early seasons of Archer. But it's so funny because this whole story with him has been about like a salad maker.
Oh yeah, he's so mad that he got a salad maker from his villain as a birthday present.
And he thinks it's like a ruse to reveal his, like, or admit that, like, it's like, hey, I know who you are. But also we get a new character in this, Instagram. Yes, who is a low-level villain.
Who use social media to mind control the people of the world. And he goes to him not to stop him, but to help him get more followers on social media because he's not Superman, but with Flash's powers. And it is ridiculous entirely, and I love it so much.
Yes. Also, the story after it, the second one,
is actually my favorite story in the series.
So it features a traffic-centric hero, Rush Hour, who has a ton of powers that you kind of find out, I think in the last issue.
Yeah.
You kind of start to realize, like, wow, this guy's actually really super-powered. And then you find out that he just kind of flies over the highway and in this issue tells somebody just to buckle up.
And they're like, actually, I'm in stop-and-go traffic and that's actually really bad for you. And they give him all the stats and he's like, but but the magician that gave me my powers told me I was supposed to tell people to put on their seatbelt. And he's like, well, a magician really doesn't know as much as these traffic experts.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know what to do. Like, he's like so torn. And the whole time, he's actually locked in, like, he's thinking of all these things while he's locked in a trap that the ultimate villain has set for the accelerator. But it accidentally caught Rush Hour, and Rush Hour has been going through these, like, 16 levels of torture that were designed. And now he's, like, best friends with this villain, because this villain just legitimately feels bad for catching the wrong person in his trap. And it's like, maybe I shouldn't be a villain, because I'm not, you know, why do I hate this guy so much? Like, maybe I don't. And he's, like, trying to remember, and he's like, oh, I just feel really bad, because this other guy is going through torture. It's just classic Mark Russell, like ridiculous humor telling you also wonderful morals at the same time.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, I'm gonna poke fun at superhero comics, but in a really great way, because I do, as stupid as all of these characters are, I'm really invested.
I am so invested. I was like Rush Hour. I was like cheering at the end of his issue.
Oh, I want a Rush Hour solo title.
Yeah.
Like, I want this to be the universe that Mark Russell's like, hey, I'm gonna blow this up. But yeah, like Ohei Comics, I'm gonna be exclusive with you, and I'm just gonna very much like Jeff Lemire's Black Hammer.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm gonna start with the main series, and then I'm gonna give you all these other solo series. I'm gonna explore every character. And also just keep giving you more characters. I feel like maybe that's the route they're going to take, especially with the Chandelier, where it's like, hey, we're going to show you all these other characters in this universe. But yeah, it's...
Here for it.
Yes.
100%. We're going to jump over to Picks of the Week, which I don't think... I don't know if Matt can actually flip it to that, as he's having to handheld this whole experience for you. So... Just pretend that we're on. Oh, there you go. We're going to Picks of the Week. You are a master, Matt. Except for the fact that
Fuck that up.
Yeah, I was like you were.
It was only for a minute. We got back.
All right. So number 1 new comic, Happy Hill.
Nice little.
Ooh, tilt that around for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, show that off because that's gorgeous.
Rad.
The beautiful
Happy Hill.
Happy Hill number 1, and this is from Comics
Tribe.
Which I don't know if we've had.
We've never had anything from them, and so I don't actually know anything about this publisher yet, and so it's one of those I have to learn more about the publisher, but after this book, I'm very excited to do so.
Yes, yeah, this is, and I'll be the first to admit, I'm not a huge horror fan, and that is all, that's all a me problem, because horror, especially in comics, has been
huge
at the top of everything right now. But this one I really enjoyed. I think a little bit of it has to do with the character design of the villain that we see here on the cover, but also we just kind of like this, I don't know, it feels very like Pan's Labyrinth, kind of like a Guillermo del Toro style look to it. But this is, it has all your typical horror tropes. It involves Happy Hill Hotel. Yeah, look at that. That shit's wild. This book is gonna be super gory.
Wow.
Yeah, it's gonna be very gory.
And it's Happy Hill. The family is there's a family that runs it, and they've run this hotel forever, and it's the place that's supposed to bring you the most happiness you'll ever find. They don't advertise the hotel.
Yeah.
It's all word of mouth, and they are exclusive about who can go there. But our story kind of features a little girl whose dad is a member of this Hill family, and she ends up at this hotel. She's supposed to be at this hotel, but she goes missing very early on. And so we've got police that are kind of investigating, and we also have, the secondary story of these people who have sold everything they own to come to this hotel. Lots of things going on all at the same time, and of course the secondary people are investigating this creature.
Yeah, and one of them is a National Enquirer writer. He makes a comment about how he wrote an alien Bigfoot connection piece. And he's the one that's this killer called the Woodsman, he exists, I know he's out there, all the sightings are here, it's connected to this, but it's this beautiful hotel with like slides,
Yeah.
like water slides to get around the whole resort.
Yeah, they're like, why walk when you can take a water slide?
Yeah.
And I was like,
It's
okay.
It's fun.
Yeah.
You're like, this is weird. And I automatically don't trust you because
No.
you've given me too much. I mean, and the hotel looks great. But yeah, I was really impressed by this book. And it could be the foil on the cover. I don't know.
It definitely brought a lot of people to it this week.
Oh,
Having
I'm
that
sure.
foil cover. Like, I think this is the last copy of the foil I have, and then I have the regular non-foiled cover.
And which I kind of understand, especially now with so many new publishers popping up, so many new number ones. Obviously, this week was a little bit lighter, but you have to have a way to stand out, and I think this cover alone,
Yeah.
The Woodsman, I think is going to be.
It's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, I think if you're a big fan of horror as a genre, you're going to get a lot of the things that you would want out of this.
Yeah, and like you said, it's very Del Toro like inspired. I can
Mhm.
definitely feel that in a lot of the design and storytelling. From Scoot, which we usually don't bring our kids' books over to this because that is an entire show that Phil and I could do for way longer than we do this one, honestly. But Scoot, which is the kids' imprint of Scout Comics, brought a new book out this week from a friend of Bat City, Jonathan Hedrick, as the writer, who is the writer of The Recount. And I remember when they announced this, I was like, Jonathan Hedrick did The Recount, and the artist on it has only ever done really like graphic horror and
but like
adult
existential,
stories.
yeah, like adult books.
And I was like, wait a sec. I think I literally tweeted a kid's book from these two creators. Not really sure where this is going to go. And they responded back with, you're going to love it. And they weren't wrong, which I knew I would. But I
Right.
was like, this doesn't seem like a kid's book team. And yet they did a great job.
So here's the thing. I was reading this book, and obviously it's a Scoot imprint, but I was looking at the art and kind of this story about this kid who wants to be an astronaut,
Yes.
and he has a dream where he encounters an astronaut
Mhm.
who kind of gives him all this information, educates him on, hey, it's you got to work hard, you got to study, you got to learn these things. And the whole time I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, where is the weird, dark, fucked up twist coming?
Because
Like,
of who the creators are.
Yeah, it's like, okay, is that his future self, and this is some, like, dark premonition of what's going to happen to him or something, like Lost in Space? And then I get to the end, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is really just a book telling kids that, like...
You can be whatever you want to be.
Yeah, the literal, like, hey, whatever you put your mind to, like, if you work hard... And like teach yourself and follow certain principles and stuff.
Remember
like,
to help others
yeah,
and make
be
the
a
right
part of a
choices.
team, like,
yeah.
everything that you would expect. You're like, oh wow, it's just that. And I'm
Right,
sitting
he's
here,
not dead.
No.
I was waiting for him to be dead the whole time.
Yeah, you're like, okay, where's it coming?
Yeah.
Like, I know there's gonna be some like weird, dark, existential shit that makes me think about it for days on
And
end.
then no, it was just
Nope.
happy. It was
Yep.
just a really inspirational book that I want to put in like all of the children's hands in the end. And I feel like I have to go back and reread it and be like, was I wrong? Is there this moment that I
Yeah.
don't need to share this with kids? But no, it is actually the perfect like kid story that's just 100% inspiring and it leaves you like feeling like, oh, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
I'm going to accomplish all the things in life. It's a beautiful book. And I think everybody, no matter how old you are, should read it. Especially like, if you have a dream you're chasing or if you feel like you've missed your chance for your dream, like this is the perfect book to like re-inspire you.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I'm also happy that kids are going to get to see Stefano Cardacelli's art
Right?
early on. Because maybe they'll read this and they'll be like, Mom, I like the art. She's like, well, let me go find some of these other books.
No, I will not give them to your child.
I'll be like, here's Sweet Downfall.
Right? I'm not giving your child Sweet Downfall. As much
Please.
as it's a beautiful book.
Is Space Cadet a one-shot?
It does not say whether or not it is a number one.
Or if it'll continue on to like a lot of times with Scoot books they do one issue and then they go into
It
graphic
doesn't
novel
say.
form and it actually doesn't
Yeah.
say, but it wraps up like it's done.
That is typically, yeah, like, I could see this being all you need. Because it's literally like, hey, you want to be an astronaut? Here's what you do to be an astronaut.
Now go
do
be
it.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, I need to go home now.
And be an
know?
astronaut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me go
Or
home
whatever
and
my dream is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vault, We Ride Titans #1. This is a book that has been delayed a million times because of paper shortages and all of the like, and now it is here. Go for it, Phil, because I know you want to say something.
It is a kaiju book
Hooray.
that has Sebastian Perez art. Like, I don't...
And Dion Colors,
Yes,
Deacon of Fun
Deacon
Colors,
of Fun
who I'm a
Colors.
huge fan of.
So this book has everything that I would want, and did I mention it has kaijus? Because this is a story. You get this Titan. So like most kaiju books, you have the human protectors, and it's gonna be giant mech suits.
Always.
And in this one, we're introduced to Dej.
Mm-hmm.
Dej Cobbs, I believe is the last name now. I'm trying to remember. And you have him drunkenly fighting a kaiju.
Yes.
And there's some really great panels in here of just like shots of his face where you're like, oh man, he's very clearly incapable of doing this.
Doing his job.
Mm-hmm. And so he kind of, he gets the job done, but very poorly. And he's an alcoholic.
Yes.
He has a very serious problem. He's kind of fallen off the wagon. And his family, the Cobbs family, has been fighting kaijus ever since they started fighting kaijus.
Yeah, they're the town's protectors because every town has a kaiju protector
Yes.
built into it.
And so this family has been protecting this city, and so they call upon Dej's sister, Kit, who, let me just go ahead and say right now, is a total badass.
100%. I'm already sold on her alone.
Yes,
Yes.
honestly, the kaijus were already a huge selling point, but the moment we get kind of like there's a back and forth between her and her wife, and then there's also there's like a little fun moment with her mom showing up.
Yeah.
And the girl's like, this is not how I was expecting to meet my mother-in-law, but okay.
And she's like, this is how I thought my day was going to go either.
Yeah.
And I also love that she's completely human from the very beginning. Like, the
Yes.
very first thing, like, she sees the news report about her brother being a drunken mess, and she's just, and she, like, lashes out at her wife, and then she's like, she, like, shows her go get some flowers, and it shows her go, like, try to make dinner, like, nicely, and the guy at the florist shop is like, okay, so are you, like, trying to, like, win somebody over or make up? And she's, like, making up, and then she, like, completely botches her makeup, and she's like, well, I guess dinner's ready. And it's like a complete disaster of a kitchen and nothing is ready. And the wife's like, okay, next time just do the flowers. And I'm like, I love you because you're already, like, I know everything I need to know about you as a character. Like, you're strong, you're badass, but you're also not really good at the emotional side of things. And you want to be, but you're not so good at it. And obviously her brother is her the one family member she still keeps ties with. And she doesn't care about this whole, like, oh, your family responsibility. She's like, screw family responsibility. But at the same time, she still shows up when they need her. Yeah,
and I kind of like, how they wrap it up with, like, she's like, yeah, well, I guess I'll go. And then she gets there, and she's like, all right, look, let's be real. I'm going to be fighting some kaijus.
Yeah, I'm going to tear this up.
Yeah, which excites me because she's already cool as shit.
And she hasn't done anything yet.
And
She's already so cool.
She hasn't even reached that point where you're like, oh my god, there's so much more. Like, I also, too, love the fact that she doesn't call her dad Dad. She calls him by his name. And he's just like, but I'm your father. And she's like, fuck you. Yeah. And I'm like, sold.
Right, you're like, I'm in.
Yeah, it's like, okay, cool. This is just... I mean, obviously it's going to be one of my picks because of the kaijus.
Right, the kaijus, and if you watch any of our shows, we always put the kaiju book in the picks of the week. But this one, What? I
missed the kaijus. Did we see the kaijus?
They're like
weird,
like animalistic, like kind of creatures for this particular kaiju in their town.
Yeah.
But we're also we love the kaijus, but we also talk about the version of the story that gives us the family drama is also always the one that sells us because we love those. So the fact that this is a kaiju story, but also a family. Like the tagline is even kaiju hit hard, family hits harder,
Yeah.
and I'm like sold. I'm sold on that alone.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna get a good blend of the two. You're gonna get the action. Well, I cannot remember any of the books that I enjoyed. It wasn't Big Girls, but there was
I do love Big Girls.
the four Jenny Zero.
Jenny Zero, yeah,
Very
from Dark
same
Horse.
kind of concept here, where it's like we're gonna explore family dynamic because it's a very fucked up family dynamic.
Also, Dark Horse, give us more Jenny Zero.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
we need more of that.
Please.
Give us a volume 2 of Jenny
Oh my
Zero for
gosh,
sure.
Please.
And then there's this book that I didn't think was
Gonna break my heart this week, dear Lord. See, I actually think this is now the prequel to Canto because my heart was ripped out by the sorcerer David Boer this week. This is Rain. It's from Image. It is an adaptation, a comic book adaptation of a Joe Hill story. So this is the writer of Canto once again proving why he is just a master of words and ripping your heart out on every page. It is the story of a woman and the love of her life and a rainfall that is filled with nails and sharp objects and pain.
Yeah.
All of the pain.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I was sitting here and I was reading this book, and I was like, "Oh man, this is number one. The art on this, Zoe Thorogood, fantastic artwork. It's kind of like Maria Lovett.
Mm-hmm.
To a
Very
degree,
similar, yeah.
which I like, and holy shit! Like I'm sitting here reading this book, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna get a romance that like maybe later on down the we're getting the story of their relationship leading up to her girlfriend or
Girlfriend.
of her girlfriend dying. So it's like, okay, it's gonna be a long process, and then like halfway through the book, it's like, oh no. Yeah, there was a giant rainstorm that only lasted 8 minutes, but killed a ton of people in Michigan?
All over. It said all over the world, I think, but they're in Michigan.
Oh, okay.
And so it said, like, just in Michigan alone, it was like 16,000 people in 8 minutes or something like that.
Here, let me
And
find
it's-
the fucking
it's-
rainfall.
Yeah, it was one of those where I had no idea,
That's
honestly. I was
cool.
like, I have no idea what this is about. I just know it's David Boer doing an adaptation of Joe Hill, so I'm going to order the crap out of it.
Yeah.
And then I got it, and I was reading it, and I was like, I don't know what this one was. I don't know if I don't know if I care. I don't know, like, what the premise is. Like, it's a rain thing. Like, I don't know what that means. And then I started it, and I was like, oh, this is going to be one of those stories where we hear about the relationship before the relationship.
Right.
Because they're like, oh, this is the person that I, like, thought I would love forever. And I was like, oh, it's going to be a breakup story.
Right.
And I was like, I completely forgot about this rain element. And then, like you said, like, halfway through, I'm like, wait a second. Wait, where is this going? I think what I told you when you read it was like, I put my tissues away after May's book 5 because I was done with crying over comic books. And no, and they actually quote Jack Kirby in the back of this with the comics, listen kid, comics will break your heart. I was like, that is not what he meant! You terrible human beings! This is not what Jack Kirby meant by that statement, and now I'm crying again! But also 10 points for quoting Jack Kirby at the back of your comic.
Yes. Honestly, this book really, it also, the way it was laid out, the way the story was, where it kind of goes through like this beautiful day and like it shows you like all these wonderful things, and she's talking about the love of her life, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh nope, now here's all that same shit, but it just got massacred by
a rainstorm. And we still know nothing about this rainstorm.
Yeah, so now I'm very curious to see where this book goes, because I feel like usually in these like disaster-ish type stories, you immediately go to like a scientific team.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure it out, and they're like, oh, the next one's going to happen here, you know, and that's going to be the story, but we also have this character that we have to follow.
Right, and I just want to know how they get out of this, like, how they move on.
And
I
I'm
don't
very
know.
intrigued
I
about
don't
the kid who can't go outside, and
Yeah,
where if
who's a
he's
vampire.
gonna who calls himself a vampire because he
Yeah,
can't
he's
go
not
outside.
actually a vampire.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
a kid with a skin condition that he
He
can't
hangs
go outside
upside down in his garage and drinks strawberry juice.
because he thinks he's a vampire because
Yeah.
sunlight. He has a photosensitivity. It's the cutest thing ever.
Yeah, I like one of the best scenes in the book was when he like runs up and she's like, "So you're a real vampire?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I turned into a bat and like fly at night and stuff." But yeah, it's really fun. I love it. So it's really great. You're
Super
like,
cute
this,
kid.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of curious because it
Yeah.
also maybe like a little bit of like could be post-apocalyptic vibes
Yeah.
with that
And it's
setup.
Joe Hill, so it's going to be sad no matter what. It's also, can you grab it back really fast? Because this is the launch of a new imprint for Image.
Oh.
This is, I have to see the back of the book because they tell you how to say it, and they like literally said that there was a lot of delays with this, whether or not this was going to come out, because nobody could figure out how to say the name of the imprint was a big part of their story. But it is pronounced Syzygy. Oh my god.
Great name.
Means a pair of connected or corresponding things, and it's SYZYGY is how you say it.
I thought when it came to
Syzygy.
branding, the whole point was to make something really simple. Apple.
Yeah.
You say it a million times a day. That I'm out.
Yeah, they
Image
literally
canceled.
said it was birthed quietly and without fanfare, in part because they'd like the work to speak for us, but also because everyone we mentioned the name to told us they could neither pronounce it, spell it, nor define it. And I love that you still went with it. So, congrats on still going with that. We'll see how that goes. And it is done. It is Ashley Wood, who is who was the writer of the Unnamed script. And Chris Ryle, who was also a part of Unnamed, and then they worked on a couple other things throughout. And yeah, so anyway,
All right.
they're starting their own imprint at Image, and they want you to know that you can't say it. So
Yeah, it's also kind of weird that they would do a Joe Hill adaptation
to start with,
when he's been doing a lot of stuff over at Black Label.
yeah.
I find that kind of interesting. But at the same time, I may not be able to pronounce your name, but I'm really on board.
At the same time, if you pick David Booher to be your first writer, you've got me, because I am a Kanto obsessed human being. Alright, so we've got other in-stock comics that we're going to tell you about much quicker than that. Now go through these really quickly. The Good Asian from Image Comics. This is issue 8. No longer the end of the story. We're now going to 10 issues. Solely because the creator of the story wanted to expand issue 8 after everything that happened in America with the attacks on Asian culture over the last 2 years, when he had actually pitched the series and they turned in issue 1. He was already done with. By the time issue 1 was printed, he had already written this issue 8, and when he handed it to the editor was like, "This issue is the one that speaks to everything that's going on with what you're trying to say." And I think that instead of shortening that to finish up the story on top of it, I think you should just expand this issue and just talk about what the hate is like in America as a member of the Asian culture. And so they expanded the story in issue 8 and then gave them 2 more issues to finish the actual story of Good Asian. So
Nice.
beautiful noir story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely going to be an Eisner
Oh.
nomination.
for sure. Eisner, all kinds of stuff. Noir story in the 1930s, but also a conversation about what it was like to be Asian in the 1930s. Dancing with the Dragon from Scout Comics. This is a couple who decides to take over somebody's money laundering scheme when they die in the limo that he drives. And we are into issue 3, and things are just getting worse. This is for you, buddy.
Yes, Justice League versus the Legion of Superheroes. I always want a Legion of Superheroes book. If you have not been reading the, well, it's over now, but the Legion of Superheroes run by Bendis, a lot of it, well, all of it comes out of that. So I would probably read that first.
Okay.
Daredevil Woman Without Fear by Chip Zdarsky. This is Elektra has taken over as Daredevil as of issue 25 of Daredevil, and now it has turned into her title, Daredevil Woman Without Fear. I'm not going to lie, I am not in any way, shape, or form anywhere near caught up with the Chip Zdarsky Daredevil run.
Same.
I picked up that issue and I was not lost at all.
That's good.
So, good job on the recap. Marvel Voices out again this month with the Heritage, which the Heritage Marvel Voices is the Native American and Indigenous voices. So I just want to go through those covers really fast. These beautiful, that David Mack cover is gorgeous.
David Mack, always great.
Yes, and we've got some great focal points for this, and I know that we have... lastly, because it's not actually listed, this is a Maria Wolf cover, which is just beautiful, and there's really great stories.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Looks very Castle Wingard.
yeah, so Marvel Voice is back, and they are now $5.99 issues, or $4.99 issues, instead of being $10 issues. So, nice to see them making them something that people can buy all of and support those artists. Harley Quinn, Eat, Bang, Kill. This is the animated series Harley Quinn continuing on. This is Spider-Woman, the beautiful, wonderful, amazing character that she is, and issue 18 of her story. Undiscovered Country, issue 18 from Scott Snyder and Charles Soule. Issue 12 of Stillwater from Chip Zdarsky. If you're like me and Phil, you've probably fallen behind just a little on Stillwater, but we've been told that we are wrong.
Yes, multiple people. I saw it on a bunch of lists as 2021 was wrapping up, but a few people who were saying that it's some of Zdarsky's best work currently on stands.
The Scorched, issue 1. Todd McFarlane promised us Spawn books every week in 2021, going into 2022, and he did not lie. There's a Spawn book every week. Dark Ages, issue 4. This is Tom Taylor's Deceased at Marvel, also by Tom Taylor. Fantastic Four, issue 39. And Marauders, issue number 27. This is the last issue of this Marauders team, and the new Marauders team starts next.
Creative team or
no?
characters
I don't know about creative team, but I do know for sure actual character team.
Oh.
I'm assuming it's probably a new creative team too. Mighty Morphin. This is the Eltarvian War. This is issue 15 of Mighty Morphin. So if you're following along with that, there's a new war. Amazing Spider-Man issue 5. We're still in our Beyond Worlds. We're still following Ben Reilly. And there was they did actually announce who was taking over Spider-Man, and it's Zub, I believe.
Are they getting rid of the Ben Reilly stuff?
Yeah, Ben Reilly's getting his own book, and it's going to go back to actually being Spider-Man, but I believe they announced that Zub is taking over the Spider-Man title, as we've been waiting to see. Titans United, issue 4?
5.
5.
Of 7.
Of 7, all
Almost
right.
there.
Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen's Robin and Batman wraps up on its 3rd issue. Pennyworth, issue 6 of 7. I know there's a lot of people who are really digging the Pennyworth show.
Yes, the show's great.
Yeah, Joker, issue 11 from James Tynion. This is, if you're missing James Tynion on Batman, you can still read his Joker story. And there's a punchline story in every issue. I Am Batman number 5. This is one of the Future State titles that kind of spurred into its own offshoot and is still going. Speaking of Future State Gotham still going strong. Batman Urban Legends issue 11. We got Zatanna in this one finally, which I'm very excited about. Other than DC versus Vampires and Justice League Dark backup stories, we don't really see Zatanna a lot. King Conan by Jason Aaron issue 2 is out this week. Darkhawk, Kyle Higgins, all you Radiant Black fans, if you're not reading Darkhawk, you're missing out on some more Kyle Higgins love. Savage Avengers issue 28. We got The Rise from George C. Romero, issue 3. This is another one of the Heavy Metals titles.
Ooh.
And Zombie.
Elements?
Zombie, yes.
Yeah, uh-oh. I like these element titles.
Different George Romero doing a zombie title.
Yeah, different George Romero doing a
What?
zombie
It's
title.
not the same
It's
one?
George C,
It's
not
George
George A.
C, not George A.
This one.
Not the Doctor Who story. And then we do have Doctor Who. This is Empire of the Wolf, issue 3. I can't tell you anything about it because Phil hasn't gotten to the Bad Wolf storyline in Doctor Who yet. X-Men Legends number 10. If you're like, I miss 90s X-Men, that's how you read it. Wastelanders. This is the Black Widow issue of Wastelanders. They're all one-shots, but they all connect for like one story for Wastelanders. So if you're
I feel like old people stuff.
Right, Old Man Logan,
people.
Old Man Hawkeye, now Old Lady Black Widow. The Thing, issue 3, I believe.
Matt's favorite Marvel series.
I think it's Daredevil, but yes.
No, he said
That
it was
too.
The Thing.
And then
Like
Star Wars, the
I have the story.
Eye of the Storm. I was like, which one are we
Issue
on?
1.
Issue 1, a launch for a new Star Wars title from the High Republic line. I know there's a lot of spin-offs of High Republic and High Republic Adventure right now, so it's hard to keep up with, so come in and ask us. Those are just some of the books in stock this week, and then we've got some trades in stock. This is my official in-stock trade stock.
Prize.
Now he does it. Just a little book in stock this right now. We've got the Saga Compendium, talking about catching up with some books before they come back. If you don't know, Saga issue 55 hits the shelves on the last Wednesday of the month, and this is issues 1 through 54, and it's actually only like a $60 book to get all of those, which is almost $1 an issue, so that's pretty impressive. If you aren't following along yet, I am actually doing the first time read through of Saga for me ever. And I'm doing it live on Twitter. I'm live tweeting my responses to things, which gets harder and harder to do as I get further along because I don't want to spoil things for people who haven't done it. So a lot of my tweets have become just GIFs of my facial reactions during reading. And then I'm wrapping that up each week or every couple days with videos on TikTok that show what I actually was like parts of the book that I loved or just thoughts about it. And you can see those videos on Instagram or our TikTok, and we're on social media as @Comics Austin across all boards. But Saga, you can read that. Now's the time. 6 Sidekicks of Trigger Keaton. Did you notice it's labeled Volume 1?
Yes, I just saw that. Which, of this universe, you know, the sidekicks, all the sidekicks of like the Chuck Norris.
For just a sec.
Okay.
The Chuck Norris-esque TV movie star. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I say it all the time. It's a parody of Quentin Tarantino films, and that is a great idea. That Texas Blood Volume 2 already out. I'm excited for how fast that came out. So if you are a trade waiter, That Texas Blood Volume 2 is finally out, and then you can just keep going. You'll be caught up.
That'll be the one I'm going to be reading, because I've been trade reading that one.
Basilisk from Cullen Bunn, Volume 1 is out. This is kind of a story about the people who have powers geared around the 5 senses, all trying to, destroy a town. I'm saving these 2 for last, because you always do that, right? Black Friday. This is a great story about it's a zombie apocalypse / just depths of evil coming out on Black Friday in a retail store and how poorly the management handle it. And God, I love this book so much. It's a Black Caravan title, so it's the horror imprint from Scout.
Also, it is only $9.99.
Yes. And it's the complete story. There is no more. Naomi Season 1. If you don't know about Brian Michael Bendis' Naomi, you need to grab this before the show begins on the CW. It's all about this is where she came from. This is the start of her story. This is Volume 1. And I believe this is the first time that we've had just the Volume 1 trade paperback. I think before that it was just the hardcover of the whole series. So or the hardcovers of Volume 1 and Volume 2. So it's nice to have a trade paperback finally.
Yeah, and I think the show's already out.
Is it?
I think the first episode aired, I think.
Oh my God, I need to watch it. If it already aired, somebody let me know, because I need to know if I need to be watching it. The X of Swords Compendium. So if you have been waiting to get all of X of Swords and you don't want to go back and buy 22 issues of comics, here it is. You can get all of the X of Swords, the tie-ins, everything, all in this one volume right here and kind of catch up. Or you could call it Ten of Swords. Either way, you're going to get the same story, whatever you call it. So.
Also, just to remind you, this is less issues and it's $75.
Then reading all of Saga.
Then reading the first half of Saga. You can read this. Actually, I heard really good things about X of Swords.
Yeah.
Or Ten of Swords.
Whichever one you want it to be. Back in stock, we've got the Spawn Origins collection. So this is Volume 1. If you are I really like Spawn and I don't know where to start, we always suggest you start right here.
$10 for issues 1 through 6.
$10.
For
This
issues
is
1 through what?
6.
1 through
6.
6.
Wow.
Yeah, I actually read. I'd never read Spawn, so I picked this up one day in here, where I was like, "Oh, let me just throw like a random trade in on top of my single issues." So I finally read the first volume of Spawn a
Nice.
few months ago.
Fun stuff.
Also back in stock is Volume 1 of Radiant Black, which is a beautiful story from Kyle Higgins. I see this as Power Rangers if the story would have been about adults. Like, all the kids who grew up watching Power Rangers, this is the story of now I'm an adult and I didn't accomplish what I wanted to be and, like, in my day job, but now I get to be a Power Ranger. Essentially what it is. It's beautiful story between two friends, too. And honestly, truthfully, like, this is one of those that always emotionally pulls and is about to blow up to be a giant universe for Image
Radiant
Comics.
Red is the next one.
Yes, there is a one-shot called Supermassive coming out this month. And then there will be a new series called Radiant Red that will be a second series going. So we'll have Radiant Black and Radiant Red and more to come. So this is your chance to really catch up on what that's about. And if you're a Power Rangers fan and you're not reading Radiant Black, I recommend you get there. If you're not a Power Rangers fan and you just like really good superhero stories that are like done by indie writers instead of having to know like mainstream continuity,
Right.
also a really great story. Geiger back in stock. This is the complete story minus the giant that has still not come out. You didn't miss it. The Geiger giant has just been delayed forever. This is the entire story otherwise from Jeff Johns.
Also a great book.
If reading 54 issues of Saga intimidates you, here's a $10 version of the first 6. So if you're like, before I commit to buying a $60 trade of 54 issues, I just want to try it out, we've got a volume 1 for $10, which has issues 1 through 6, or you can buy issue 1 for $1 as an Image First, and we do have those in stock as well. So it is not the original. You are not getting the original number 1 for $1, but you can get an Image First and check it out.
Also, I'm telling you now, you should just buy the compendium because you'll read volume 1 and say, "Holy shit, I need to read all of this now."
Yeah, you know, you could.
I mean, you do feel that way? I mean, like when you read it, do you think like, yeah, I get why everyone loves this book so much?
I do, but I definitely can see, because like I had read issue 1 and then I had read a little bit out of volume 1 beforehand, and I was like, it's really good. Like when I read the issue 1 the first time, I was like, I don't really care about sci-fi and this isn't for me. Like it's too sci-fi, it's too heavy sci-fi for me. And then I read issue 1 for our book club under the Image First, and I had the conversation with everybody, and I was like, I really like this from a literary standpoint. And then I was like, I'm gonna read a little bit more, and I read a little bit more and was like, I got busy and I could walk away and not go back, kind of thing. Like I walked away and didn't go back. And now I'm like, I really want to read it before the new stuff comes out, because I want to know why everybody says this is the best comic book series ever. And I definitely think there's so many wonderful things in the storytelling that you don't get until you get into the later volumes. I mean, I'm 3 volumes in so far, and I definitely think like the story opens up and grows a lot in that volume 2, and like reading volume 2 is where I really started to be like, I really care about this, and I really care about these characters and where they're going. And they, like the sci-fi element, this is one of those sci-fis where it's like everything looks sci-fi, but all of the emotions are so humanistic that you almost forget like they have TVs for faces, or they're giant spider creatures, or they have horns coming out of their heads and things like that. Like you kind of forget the sci-fi element entirely while you're reading it.
Right.
And so I think that if you do allow yourself to get through into that first volume and beyond, like you'll get connected to those characters and you'll want to keep going.
Right.
But if you just go into it like, I don't like sci-fi, and you just read that like beginning part, you're gonna be like, looks sci-fi, and you can turn yourself off to it very easily if you're not a big sci-fi fan. It's very easy to, or high fantasy, like whichever one you want to put it in, because it kind of falls between a bit. But read it for the story and get to know the characters, and you're gonna actually just be completely invested. One of my tweets was like the day that I read one of the issues where Alana is talking to Marco's dad was actually the anniversary of the day that Matt's dad passed away. And I was bawling while I was reading that issue of having, like, Alana having that conversation with his dad. And I was like, this was the worst day to read this issue. Like, I was like, nobody prepared me for those moments. Like,
Right,
everybody's been like, oh, you know, it's very Romeo and Juliet. It's very tragic. But they forget to tell you about all the, like, other human moments and all the other, like, parts along the way that connect to you in different ways. And I don't know how people who are parents can read this book and, like, not cry on every page.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Yeah, I think, you know, again, to me, Brian K. Vaughan is a top-tier comic book writer, and I do feel like this was the book where he's really, you know, he went all out in terms of telling a really beautiful story, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm excited it's coming back. Oh, gosh.
I can't wait, and I need to finish. So tomorrow there will definitely be more Shan Saga going on Twitter, because I can't wait to start Volume 4. Wolvenheart Volume 1, we talked about this earlier. This is issues 1 through 7 of Wolvenheart, and issues 8 through 10 are currently coming out in stores. So, and I believe that they actually are just using the same creative team, so on this new volume. So I don't think that the, like, winner of the competition would have taken over yet. I think that's like a thing that's going to come later on. But fun story for League of Extraordinary Gentlemen kind of fans. Stillwater, if, like I said, you fell behind like Phil and I, or you haven't started yet, this is Volume 1 of Stillwater, and a great way to catch up on one of Chip Zdarsky's just really fun stories about a town where people don't die.
Or age.
Or age. Since we brought up Marvel Voices and TV shows coming from Marvel, I wanted to bring up the new Werewolf by Night. This is the one that came out last year that was done by Taboo of the Black Eyed Peas. This is the complete collection of that. So if you didn't get a chance to read it, this is all 4 issues. And then 2 other books that came out this week in trade format that people might be a little excited about. Something is Killing the Children, Volume 4. This is the volume that changed everything. This is the one that opened up the entire House of Slaughter and told us the world was going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So
I still haven't read my Volume 3 yet.
Oh, man.
I know,
need to.
I know. But I'm intimidated now because he's opening the world, and I'm like, do I
get it now?
Do I need to go into this whole universe?
Yes.
Is this the universe?
Yes.
Yeah, but I've got the My Bad universe.
You need them
opening,
both.
You know,
you need them both.
Yes.
My Bad. You want the My Bad universe to open. He hasn't done it yet.
I just thought if I put it out there now, it'll happen.
Catch Something is Killing the Children while it is happening, so that then when Mark Russell opens up the My Bad universe, we're ready. And then lastly, new trades this week.
Stop fucking panning in front of me.
The Mini Deaths of Layla Starr by Ram V. Talking about Eisner nominated books. This is The Mini Deaths of Layla Starr, Ram V's beautiful, beautiful tale. If you missed issue 3, now's your chance to read it.
Yes.
It's finally here.
Probably one of the best single issues in comics.
Yeah, so check it out. We don't have enough of these for how many of you will want it, but you should definitely let us know if you're one of those people.
And it's nice because it is a full story. You're getting such a beautiful story. I mean, seriously, this was a very close second for my pick of 2021. I mean, this was such a wonderful book. Interesting story. The art is spectacular. Felipe Andrade. This is one you have to read.
Yes, and I love it because we see so much of, like, when we talk about, it's like mythology and it's gods and it's this and that, it's always going back to Thor or the Greek gods or anything. Right. And I love that Ram V was like, here in culture that you're not talking about as much, and you get to see her humanized and her mythology kind of worked into a story, and it's absolutely beautiful. And Ram V did an incredible job writing this issue, and each one is in this series, and each one is kind of a different point in the life of a young boy who is supposed to bring about the end of death.
Yeah.
And we follow, Layla Starr, who once was the Hindu goddess of death, from trying to stop him from creating this immortality, and she's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy of her own accord.
Yeah, and I actually remember reading the first issue of this and not being 100% sold, because it was like, what happens if a god or goddess loses their job?
Yeah, you literally told me after issue 1, I don't really know.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm going to read the next one. And I was like, okay, well, I guess it's on me. I'll read it. And then you were like, I was wrong.
Yeah. Oh yeah. By issue 2, I was like, oh, okay. No. My bad. I messed up.
You're like, I apologize. This
Yeah.
book was great.
And then of course issue 3, you're just like, holy shit. Okay.
Right. And it's so funny because that's one of those issues that people will come in and they're like, hey, do you have issue 3 of Layla's Dart? And I try so hard not to be like, no. But I'm like, no, unfortunately it's sold out. And they're like, everybody's sold out of that. Like, I've heard it's really great, but I can never find it. And I'm like, the trade is coming soon.
Yeah. Only $15.
Here it is.
$14.99. Nice
Okay.
10% off.
Yeah, 10% off.
5 issues.
Yeah. All right. For hanging out with us all the time and with all of our like crazy issues we had today that we'll figure out eventually, we're gonna give you a prize. You don't have to do sound effects. It's okay. Oh wait, we have comic industry news first. Haha, I lied to you. Thanks, Matt, for putting up the thing. We don't have a prize yet. We have industry news. So a couple of things that happened this week. One is you all text me to let me know. Whoa. You all text me to tell me that Wonder Girl was canceled this week.
Yes.
And yes, I know Wonder Girl was kind of canceled this week and kind of not. They are shortening the run of Wonder Girl because of the delays. Wonder Girl kept getting delayed in August and September, and we fell 3 issues behind on Wonder Girl from where we were supposed to be, and they've never, unlike Red 5, who was like, let's stack it and just send the whole thing out at one time, DC's been like, just slowly getting back on track, and because of that, it was gonna go past the start of Trial of the Amazons, but Wonder Girl is the key to Trial of the Amazons. So, unfortunately, the current Joelle Jones run on Wonder Girl does have to end like 2 issues early. I think it's 1 issue early, 2 issues early, so that it can go directly into Trial of the Amazons. But hopefully we'll see a Wonder Girl issue, like a Wonder Girl series, or possibly a Wonder Woman starring Yada Flora come out on the outside of that.
Yeah, I mean, because it was one of those things where I think you made the joke earlier, but I'm pretty sure whatever was either retweeted or popped up in my Facebook timeline was the Bleeding Cool article where it's like, they're canceling fan favorite Wonder Girl, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then you go and you do some research, and you're like, oh, okay, it's because of the delays, and they're actually only ending it, like, I think it's ending on 7 instead of 8.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're like, okay, well, that I understand. And then we're like, okay, well, then she's going to be in this big event, and then we don't know from there. But, like, if you say fan favorite, it's obvious that she'll probably come back.
Yeah, she's literally like there was almost a CW show before the character was even out, so it's like, okay, we know we're not going to see the end of Yada Floor anytime soon. And with Jonathan being Superman right now, and like the regular like Superman title was canceled, or not canceled, but like ended, paused, whatever, and it became Superman Son of Kal-El, and it's like, and then Superman Clark is only in action right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the only Superman title is Jonathan's. And so chances are we're going to see something where, like, you know, Diana ends up and Yada gets Wonder Woman or something like that after this Amazons. Who knows? But if we've seen the future and it might be that Yada and Jonathan are Superman and Wonder Woman, who's to say that we're not going to see Yada get the Wonder Woman main title after this Trial of the Amazons while Jonathan is still running on Superman? Could happen.
Yeah, and because isn't it also what they're doing with Aquaman 2, where there's a lot of kind of like setting up this new Aqualad becoming Aquaman.
And he has Aquaman becoming right now, and then it's supposed to go into him just like being it's Aquaman is the next title, and they're both going to be in it. So
I kind of like this idea of, you know, having, you can still have your legacy characters, but, you know, maybe now let's also give some attention to this new team. Maybe we'll see a new Justice League as well.
Yeah, and we've heard
these characters.
And there's so many people who've been like, you know, I never connected to that character before, but now I connect to that title, that moniker through this character. And then also I'm going to go back and learn about this other character. Now I'm more interested in them. So it's interesting to see how it does actually impact people and makes them feel connected to characters.
I can honestly say that I've never liked Clark Kent. I'm sorry, Matt. But I love Jonathan.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it has to do with the Super Sons run, with him
Absolutely.
teaming up with Damian, and that's where I fell in love with the character. But then with the Future State stuff, I was like, oh, I actually really like this character. And then, of course, everything that they're doing in the Son of Kal-El. I mean, I personally would like to see kind of side by side, we do it with Batman and Detective, where it's all the other characters, and then you have the main Batman run. So why don't we just do that for all these characters?
Yeah, I think we could definitely do that. I thought you were going to say you wanted to see Jonathan and Clark work side by side, and I was like, read Tomasi's run on Superman.
No,
that's all that was. But yeah.
I want to see Jonathan fully
Yeah.
out of Clark's shadow
Mm-hmm.
and the main Superman. I know other people may not want that, but I would be okay with, like, let's take a break from Clark for a bit.
I think in general, like, those characters have had 80 years, so
Yeah.
giving some time to these other characters as a focal point, like, any way, shape, or form, but it does give new people a chance to come in and see that and get excited about it. In the
Right.
same way, like, they get excited about Tom Holland as Spider-Man, like, it's like, oh, a kid that looks like me is the main superhero.
Right.
Like, that's huge. And we talk about, or even Miles Morales, like, in general, as a comic book character. It's like, oh, Miles Morales comes in and he's young and he understands, like, the same situations I'm going through. And Peter Parker's old and there's 60 years of Peter Parker and I'm not,
We've
like...
had enough Peter.
Like, I don't understand it. And it's daunting in the same. And so these new characters give the kids the chance to want to come in and feel connected to the character in the same way that people who picked up the legacy characters for the first time in their time period feel connected to them. So I think it's a good idea. I think it's worth it to, like, give them some time. And also the fact that they're all way more diverse is nice to see some diversity in the main title characters.
Yeah.
Chad gave us our comics coming out this week list. Nightwing 88, which is, I know, one that everybody's waiting for. Venom 4, Hulk number 3, Defenders issue 5. Finally, we've had some major delays. I know you've been waiting for that. Green Lantern 10, The Silver Coin number 8. We only find them when they're dead number 10.
Wow,
then
it was a while.
It was a big, big wait. Silver Surfer Rebirth number 1. Bolero number 1, which I'm really excited about. This is another one of those dark, creepy ones that has this Megan Hutchinson creeps.
Oh.
Almost American 4, Witch Blood number 10, which is the end of Witch Blood. For the Bat fam, we've got Wonder Woman 783, also leading the Trial of the Amazons. Primordial number 5.
Nice.
The launch of the new She-Hulk title.
Hey.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 125, which Chad said is the Punk Frogs issue.
Yes! I've been waiting for that one!
Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow number 7. Silk number 1. Ben Reilly Spider-Man number 1.
Yeah.
Homesick Pilots number 11. Finally starting that next
Dang.
volume. Last book you'll ever read, because we are going to read it, number 5. Out number 4 from AWA Upshot. And Canto Lionhearted issue 5, which is almost the end of the volume 3 of Canto. It is a great week. So, as Chad said, pending any delays, as we know, we don't know when comics are going to arrive each week from our Diamond stuff. And hopefully they arrive on time this week. The last couple weeks they've come either on Thursday or Friday, or the week before, like all of those where they didn't even come until the next week. So, there's shortages, staffing shortages and things happening. There's delays in traffic and things like that. So hopefully we get our books in on time this week, because I know you all love your indie books. But let's see what we get and what happens. Oh yes, BJ, we can get you a Silver Coin 7 and the new Donnie Hulk 2 and 3, and then Ram, I see you want Silk, so I will make a note to get you that. She's my favorite new superhero heroine from Marvel. So
She's definitely up there. I caught up on a lot of her stuff recently.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm excited for another Silk book.
and when he was reading Silk, so
That's just because, like, her introduction is her and Peter Parker getting it on, and it's so uncomfortable and childish and weird, and I was just like, ooh.
it was adorable. Alright, now we're gonna give you a prize. I'm ready. I'm totally on time and not ahead of myself. So we've got our giveaway for you. Prize!
Yes! Double up on it right there. We're going to give you a little Aftershock #1 prize pack. So we've got Search for Hugh #1, we've got Cross to Bear #1, and we've got The Heathens #1. All currently ongoing Aftershock titles. We're going to give you all 3 of these. If you can really answer this question that has absolutely nothing to do with comic books. January 19th is actually the anniversary of the city of Austin becoming the capital of Texas. But at the time it wasn't called Austin. So what is the original name of the city of Austin? If you can tell me that, you can have all 3 of these comic books.
I didn't know there was a name before it being called Austin.
There was. And I will give you a really big hint if nobody knows this.
I hope it's silly.
It's not really all that silly, but if you can tell me the original name of the city of Austin, you can get all 3 of these books. Yes, Chad, it is Waterloo. Waterloo is actually the original name of the city of Austin. That is why it's Waterloo Records and
That
all of
makes
those
sense.
things. So, yes, so Chad, you're getting this Aftershock. You said curses to being forced to take Texas history.
Well, I assume he already has Heathens 1 because it's Cullen Bunn, his favorite creator.
Well, we've got these books coming your way, Chad, and this Wednesday is the 183rd anniversary of Austin being the capital of Texas. Tomorrow is Martin Luther King Day, so
Nice.
I didn't know if you knew that.
I didn't. I'm glad you told me that because I had plans to go to the library tomorrow, which means I cannot go now.
No, you cannot go to the library tomorrow. But it is.
That's heartbreaking.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But once again, we are winding down your weekend. We thank you so much for joining us and talking about all this week's new comics. Thank you for adapting with us when all of our power failed and we created all new kinds of ways to get the information to you. We can't wait to see you next week. We'll see you at the shop on Wednesday, and if not, we will see you here on Sunday when we once again wind down your weekend.